Yep. Okay, the World Cup is officially over. The Barclays Premier League will be on the countdown till it starts again. I will definitely be doing fantasy football. I hope the Johnsons host their fantasy football league again. I'll be going up against my brother, Mar versus Dragon. I don't know if Mr. B for Bags, will be doing his league, but I invite everybody and anybody to get involved with fantasy football this year. I do wonder whether they're going to do WSL fantasy football. They might even already do it. I'll have to check that out. Anyway, so the World Cup's over. Spain have been crowned the champions of the world. They have also done it for a second time where they've been European champions and world champions. Spain, España, Viva la España. Like, I think everybody watching that final from most nations knew who they wanted to win. They knew why they wanted them to win. And eventually, the team that deserved to win over the course of the tournament did win because they only conceded one goal. One goal. That's incredible. Not to mention that first opening game where they drew 0-0 with Cabo Verde was the beginning and the world coming to see that this is going to be a great tournament full of interesting moments and spectacles. And Vozinha, or however you pronounce his name, became a overnight sensation for his performance. Like, come on, millions of Instagram followers, genuinely a magical story. But the final, I was very, very bored because, the two styles were passing versus defending. Now, I'm an Arsenal fan. We are celebrating the league still, and we will continue to celebrate that league win still. When you are the defending team, when you are the team that is putting in the grit, putting in the tackles and defending hard, you have an affinity to that team in a way that is unlike any other. You feel like you're at war. Yeah, you feel like you are defending with your life because it's all that matters. So I can totally relate to the Argentinian way of playing and the way that they turned up in that final. But as a neutral watching yesterday, I struggled to watch that. I did at many points. And I was hoping for penalties in the end because I just wanted more drama, more tension. It didn't compare to the France-England game. And I only saw the last half an hour of that game because I was at a friend's birthday. So in the last half an hour of the England-France game, I saw more energy, more drama, more variety than I did in the Spain-Argentina final. But, I do respect it. I respect football, respect tactics. And you have to understand that the Argentinians, they have had great success with the way that they play football, with the way that they win games, the way that they deploy Messi as essentially a shadow player who comes alive when the time calls for it. A bit like basketball, you can kind of drift, you can use yourself as a decoy, you can feint, you can, switch it quite easily. So in terms of strategy, in terms of team sport, Argentina is a fascinating topic, and the way that Spain turned up in this game. They started with the politics in advance because Rodri, who's very smart in his interviews, already identified how physicality will play a factor, and referees need to be very, very acutely aware of the mechanics of the game. I think they were better equipped today, those referees, because they could see where there were genuine fouls, where there was simulation, they could see where there was coming together, and they could see where it was another team playing to its strengths. So in that regard, I'll say well done to the officials. I have to say that. I'm going to switch slightly and jump to the end where was the awarding ceremony, because for the second time I've seen somebody on that celebrations podium who should not be there. And that person's the same person as last time. When Chelsea lifted their Club World Cup win in America last year, the President of the United States of America was on stage, and visibly you could see the players were confused, unsure, genuinely baffled and bemused by why his presence was there. Even afterwards, there was commentary about it, Maybe that's why Cole Palmer didn't get selected this year, because I'm sure he was slightly vocal about the fact that why is he here? What's going on? Maybe he was barred by the FA. Who knows? I'm not going to go down that route. However, I think even Reece James said something or two as well, so that couldn't be the case. Anyway, but for the second time, and this time it didn't turn out in exactly the same way, because the Spanish team also looked visibly perturbed and unsure as to what was going on, and Gianni Infantino ushered him off eventually. But this is sports washing to the nth degree. This is blatant sports washing. This is incredibly disgusting in terms of polluting the game, creating this political aspect. And just because there's a celebration taking place of an amazing achievement of a nation working together, not just now, but over the years, because the generation of energy towards creating a title-winning national team starts years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, academy, development. There's so many things that add up to a nation's victory. And then when you plaster a head of state right next to it, there is an association that's trying to be forced that just is incongruent, okay? It's not right. It shouldn't happen. And I need to call it out before I continue the rest of this video, because heads of state do not belong in those videos, because they can't take credit for anything that took place there. Even the organization, even the spectacle of the World Cup, the stadiums that have been built, that energy has been transferred from so many individual people's hands, graft, to that moment where it just feels completely bizarre that person could be there when they don't represent everybody. They're supposed to represent everybody, but when there's such a clear polarization in this world, in their own country, about what they do, wrong play, wrong call. Take a sidestep. I know it wasn't going to happen because that person's very vain, but President of the United States of America, please do better. The next one, please do better. The voters, please vote for somebody that's going to do the right thing. Just do the right thing. Anyway, that overshadowed the actual celebrations, but it was predictable. Before the tournament, I did consider boycotting the whole thing, because I love football. I love it so much. I could talk about it all day, every day. No matter what, with anybody. I can always find a way. I even went on a podcast, a lady called Shauna Marie Henry. She interviewed me about football. And for me, it was, in that interview I said, it was never about the ball. It's never about that. It's all that takes place around it. It's the theatre. It is the pantomime. It is the drama. It is the grit, the energy, all of that stuff. As I said, I can go on for ages, but a big tournament, lots of great moments, lots of emotional moments, and I was proud to see how various different nations performed. Eventually, I was quite happy with how Belgium performed, even though they stuttered in certain games. I like what they did in the game against USA. I like how certain players delivered. Lukaku, definitely a little bit of a renaissance from him. Good to see De Bruyne. I've missed seeing him in the Premier League, so good to see him. I also really valued France's contribution. Now, France, they were just electric. Then the talent, the skills that they have, and generally just the boastiness, because they showed up to that tournament, so we're going to play amazing, great football, and it took them quite far. They got unstuck by the eventual winners, because at the end of the day, an immovable force versus a strong object, or whatever it's called, that's what happened there. And I'll talk a little bit about England, because England, they went as far as they've ever gone in my lifetime and in many people's, getting third place at a World Cup, slightly putting to bed a little bit of the pain and suffering from previous years, because we've got as far as maybe the quarters, or we got to the semis and then lost in the third place playoff. So then it just ends in a really uncomfortable way. The actual games themselves were roller coasters, and there'll be definitely a lot of moments that I remember with my friends where we really tried our best to win those games. But as a nation, you can't expect to win. You have to really battle. You have to really be on board. The manager did an exceptional job up until the point where he unfortunately just didn't bet on his progressive players to keep the game alive. You know, Spain yesterday nearly went and got a second goal 2 or 3 times. They didn't, and Argentina were always a threat, but the reality was that their attacking threat meant that Argentina had to go for it. They had to go for the tackles. They had to. That's how they got the red card, because they realized that they have to battle at each part of the pitch, not just the ball comes back and it's backwards and forwards. It wasn't that. So I think that Thomas Tuchel's decision to just go ultra defensive just didn't serve us, and he had a much bigger attacking options compared to like Mikel and Arsenal season, where at times, you know, we have Jesus who was just not able to carry the ball. Gyökeres just couldn't control the ball. You know, if Tuchel had brought on Saka or Rashford or Eze earlier, you know, in the game against, or no, even at all, a game against Argentina, they could carry the ball forwards, and they were fit and healthy, as you saw in the France game. So bizarre. Yeah, anyway, this is a quick video because I am going to be uploading more regularly. I do run my own production company called the Business Production Company, which is a subsidiary of my main business, which is business consulting. So, you know, I thought it's only time I start recording more of myself and uploading more of myself, projecting my voice, and eventually when I do some singing lessons, I'm sure you'll see me singing. So, we're on a countdown to the Premier League. In fact, hey Google, how many days till the Premier League? Okay, no Wi-Fi. For now, keep doing more than the rest. You know the rest. And see you on the next video. Take care.